Why did somebody, how in the frack did this come into somebody's brain and they decided to write this down and they decided to sell it and people have read it? People have given this 5 stars. 5 stars. Hey, thanks so much for clicking on the video. My name is Kaylee, and this is Read, Rant, Review. I read some crazy books, and I tell you all about it. I give you a beat-by-beat, chapter-by-chapter breakdown of a book that you guys vote for. This week, because I love you guys so much, I'm actually going to be doing videos on all 3 of the options that were on the poll. So, earlier this week, I did the book Forked, which is a World War II super soldier turns into a fork and finds love. Today, we're covering Wet Hot Allosaurus Summer by Lola Faust. Yeah, it's a romance between a human woman and a dinosaur. The human imagination knows no bounds. It's about to get weird. So Goodreads, it's sitting at a 2.22, which might be the lowest rated book that I've ever covered. 1,300 ratings, 172 pages, which I think is a lie, but we'll talk about that in a second. Published in 2020, so I think this is another COVID coping book, just you know how it is. The book description, so that you know what we're getting into. Tanis, which is how I'm going to say it because that's how they say it on Letterkenny. Tanis was a simple country girl, desperate to escape life on the farm. Big Al was everything she was lusting for. A sexy bad boy carnosaur from the wrong side of the food chain. Would their forbidden love tear her family or her flesh apart? Join Tanis and Big Al on an Saurian odyssey guaranteed to tease and titillate on a Jurassic scale. Okay, I guess. That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. I have not read this book yet. So I bought it on Kindle because I didn't want to buy the paperback and wait for it to come in. Don't support Kindle, eat the rich, whatever. You do what you gotta do. There's no ethical consumption in capitalism. Don't yell at me, I know, okay? I'm doing what I can. It is what it is, okay? Don't look at me like that. So on the Kindle version though, it looks like this is only 99 pages. And so I decided, okay, I will go ahead and read it and film it. So you guys are gonna get a live reaction. I'm scared. I'm really genuinely fearful. So you're gonna get a live reaction as we go through this. I'll probably read a bunch of it and as I go, and it'll be a good time. I'm scared, I think. The content or trigger warnings, the trigger warning page, if you are a visual person and if you can look at this, it fills my entire screen on my phone, the entire screen. And I think it's for the other books. So in this edition, it includes Wet Hot Allosaurus Summer, Lord Bartholomew's Ankylosaur Lover, Mile High Pterodactyl Club, Dino Love Tips, The Elf and the MILF, and other books like that. And so I don't know if these triggers are specifically for this first one or if it's for, I believe it's for all of those books. I'm going to read them to you for the sheer comedic value and the fact that there is a trigger warning for South Dakota and Walmart. Okay, so the preface, just so we go into this with the right state of mind, Lola says, I finally finished the story. Here it is in all its soaked saurian splendor. Thanks to Katie Robert, the die-in of Demon Romance, for inspiration. And to all of my sensitivity readers, who after being revived with smelling salts, suggested the following trigger warnings. So this is from sensitivity readers, and this reads like an AO3 tag section thing, okay? So triggers. Dinosaurs. Dinosaur, ornithoscledophobia, fisting, gore, vor, pain, blood, activity, camping, cults, candy, insects, arm trauma, shoulder trauma, amputation, interspecies, menstruation, brains, carnivorism, sexism, misogyny, speciesism, classism, ableism, abusive parent, abusive coworker, infidelity, fire, water, forests, farms, working and dormant, and I'm only halfway through the list. Unorthodox use of personal lubricant, implicit and explicit threat of SA, they spell out S assault, right? Okay, I'm trying to appease the YouTube overlords here. Inaccurate dinosaur anatomy for the sake of the story, and accurate dinosaur anatomy for the sake of accuracy. Feathers, Canada, South Dakota, Walmart, cornfields, cow tipping, barns, pickup trucks, threat of police violence, guns, gunshot wounds, immigration paperwork, portable toilets, decapitation, taffy pulling, animal slaughter, religion, PTSD, venture capital, and vegetables, guys. Yeah, totally. Yeah, sure, I guess. Thanks also to the lovely hashtag book talk community on TikTok. No matter what you get out of reading, wet, hot, Allosaurus, summer, I hope you enjoy it thoroughly. You can find all of my books on Amazon or via lolafost.com, where you can also get in touch with me. I don't bite, I promise, unlike Big Al. Okay, did I say I'm scared yet? Have I expressed that clearly yet? I'll just go ahead and read this little intro section so we can all be on the same page. Okay? Chapter 1. Tanis climbed onto the biggest barn to watch the dinosaurs. Her whole body hurt from a grueling day of ranching. There was dirt under her chipped nails and a big brown stain on her blue jeans from where she'd fallen in the mud while milking Dusty, her favorite heifer. In the fields, the cows mooed contentedly, chewing clover. The evening was thick with pollen and the warm buzz of bees and chirping crickets. Tanis's body was tight and lean from 17 years of working alongside her father and brothers on their farm. Had she grown up in the city around men who were not her family, she might have known she was beautiful. She'd inherited her mother's generous breasts and backside, but hard labor had crystallized her curves, made them more severe and striking. And though Tanis knew nothing of her own beauty, she knew of the beauty of the dinosaurs whom she watched every night without fail. And this is where I said, hold up. 17? She's not really 17, right? Like, she didn't start working on the farm itself until she was like 5 years old, and then she started helping out on the family farm, right? She's not actually 17 years old. There's no fucking way, right? Okay. Astonishing. The news had proclaimed so many decades earlier that they should live among us, recreated out of DNA collected from rocks. The first generation lived as zoo animals. They might have remained sideshow attractions, but a biologist at the Chicago Center for Paleolithic Genetic Research noticed the way Albertosaurus and Allosaurus would work in groups to systematically smash rocks. Multinational conglomerates funded a bold dinosaurs to work experiment. It succeeded beyond their imagining, and thus, like so many other species, dinosaurs were at last belatedly domesticated and integrated into the workforce of man. They proved especially good at raw material extraction. They thrived when introduced to the tar sands, iridescent beasts growing warm and strong by the rainbow-slicked pools of crude. They were primordial beasts drawn always back to the slick and pumping heart of the earth. Tanis had grown up on these histories, and they seemed like myths to her. She couldn't imagine a time before the dinosaurs were everywhere, a time when people protested by bombing research centers and zoos. It seemed to her as stupid as shooting at cows. Her family lived in the foothills on some of the last remaining farmland in Alberta. From the roof of the biggest barn, she could watch the extractions, see the bodies of the pterodactyls as perfectly engineered as airplanes, but of warm flesh. During the day, the hordes of tyrannosaurs and smaller carnivores were visible. Sometimes a raptor would scamper through their fields, scaring the cows. She sketched them in secret sometimes, their long necks, blues and greens. Learning how to draw their feathers was hard at first, but eventually became her favorite part. She loved how the scales and feathers worked together for heat maintenance and protection. When her father found her sketchbook, he slapped her across the face. "Those ugly lizards are gonna dig our graves," he growled. Tanis learned to keep the sketchbook under her pillow when she slept and carried it in her knapsack across the farm during the day. Each night, she dreamed she'd wake up as a giant and beautiful dinosaur and that she would flee her small life as a farm girl. The sun pulled the shadows of the trees and oil rigs long across the fields. Tanis closed the sketchbook and set it on the shingles. A clover-sweet breeze tugged strands of honey hair out of her ponytail. She pulled her flannel across her chest. Okay, I feel weird now that we have the whole 17-year-old thing, so, like, I don't want to read any of this, like, other stuff at all. But she's, like, straight up just looking at the dinosaurs, and she's like, oh my god, they're so perfect. Every day they seemed closer. The farmland was shrinking, true, but it was more than that. She felt like she could throw a stone and hit one. She dug in the gutters of the barn and grasped at a flat rock. The stone arced through the clean air and landed a few feet from the barn, nowhere near the working dinosaurs. She threw another so hard she thought her shoulder might pop out of its socket, and she threw another and another until the gutters by her feet were empty and her arm hurt. At last it was dark, and Tanis felt cold and alone. Her body knew the barn, every foothold and loose corner of siding, and she slid quickly down its face. The first thing she noticed when she landed was an unusual smell. Like fish, she thought, and flowers, but not unpleasant. Perhaps her mother was experimenting for dinner. Tanis heard a hiss and watched as her cat Misty, a gray Persian, scattered into a hole in the barn. And then she saw the leg. It took Tanis a second to realize what she was looking at. The dark, iridescent feathers shone in so many colors that she would never be able to render them, even if she spent her whole life drawing them up. She followed the tree-thick legs up to its strong hips, wide chest, and finally the glorious saurian head, 8 feet above the barn door. The word came unbidden into her mind, Allosaurus. His eyes were deep green of oceans she had only imagined in her dreams. His cheekbones looked carved from prehistoric cliffs. His feather-dew, like hairdo, was coiffed in a sexy and hip honky-tonk curl. What the are you talking about? What do you mean? That's not what the dinosaur on the screen looks like. What do you mean he got feathers? Y'all need to see the cover of the book. If you're visual, I'm gonna put up a screenshot of it real quick. What the hell? What do you mean? His feather dew was coiffed in a sexy and hip honky-tonk curl. Hello? He let out a long and deep roar, like a tractor coming on after a winter. His body reminded her of a living lake, the way one move would ripple across his feathers. He reached out. She saw his communication device, the wires wound into his claw. After some violent misunderstandings, all infant dinosaurs were now hardwired with a bioelectric communication device that allowed them to speak telepathically with the human foreman. She knew with one touch she would be able to see into his mind and he would be able to see into hers. What the hell are you? How? What do you mean? She saw his communication device. He reached out. So what, you just shake hands and then all of a sudden you're just like linked? That doesn't seem very good. She backed away, fearful of what? She should have felt instinctive terror at the giant predator's presence, but it wasn't that at all. Was it something else? Was it fear of really communicating with him? Of knowing what he was thinking? Did he feel the same way? He stared into her with such a begging look. She let him touch her temple, and it felt like a quick zing of their minds tuning into the same channel. I've watched you too, Tanis, his mind said into her mind. Then he backed away. He was shy too, and he stared down at his claw feet. Half afraid and half wanting, Tanis let him sniff her neck. His mouth parted and she saw his rows of razor teeth. His breath smelled hot and earthy like a barbecue. I don't know if that's how I would describe a barbecue. She couldn't distinguish fear from desire. Goosebumps prickled over every inch of her soft human skin. He touched her temple again with his talon, and she watched his fantasy like a movie projected into her skull. He didn't know whether to eat her or, do something crazy and make her his mate. Oh, okay. Hey, so we still haven't established if she's older. I'm definitely not reading any of these spice things out loud. Oh, yikes. Okay, so her and this dinosaur end up kind of like having a moment, like he's licking her all over and whatnot. And her father comes running up. Tanis, move! She heard her father shout from behind her. She saw him, short, stocky, sickly human with a pipe sticking out of the corner of his mouth, shotgun cocked. No, she shouted and leapt in front of the Allosaurus. The shot boomed through her eardrums and into her shoulder. It sent her flying through the air like a sack of flour. What? What do you mean? She landed on a hay bale, coughing, wind knocked out of her. The magic of the encounter was gone. She felt cold and shattered, blood gushing from her shoulder, soaking her flannel shirt. The dinosaur hissed and wailed, lunging at her father. He was several times larger than the man. She sensed his hot fury, and he was upon him in seconds, teeth out. "No!" Tanis shouted. The beast turned back, his eyes narrowed at her. Though they were not connected by his telepathy device, Tanis could feel his thoughts. "You would save him?" Tanis nodded sadly. As much as she hated her human life, she'd lived with her father for 17 years and felt some sympathy for him, his small life and hatred. The dinosaur forgot her cowering father and returned to her. He lifted her in his talons with a remarkable tenderness and held her to him. She smelled like fish. She smelled the fish and flower scent that had first identified him and made her feel safe. She held on tight as he ran with her, springing on quick lizard legs and out of the barn and across the property. All of the stars in the sky swirled as they ran together as one creature. Behind them, her father and brothers had assembled, all with shotguns firing, but Tanis and her mate were sprinting too quickly. The gunshots came nowhere near the fleeing couple. Oh, so they're just like instantly together. Oh, they just like, so the telepathy thing I guess makes a little bit of sense now. So he just like touches her little, beep, beep, her little brain, her little temple, and then they're in sync. But it only works if he's touching her brain, is my understanding, right? That's what you were getting to? So they do that one time, he licks her neck, and then now they're mates? Okay. Hey, I thought I was here for another utensil time. I didn't realize I was reading a Penelope Douglas book. Jesus Christ, you guys. After an age of running, the blasts grew quiet and impotent. She saw her brothers and father fade into even tinier specks. She thought her heart would burst as she curled into the warm and welcoming shoulder of her new love, the love she had observed unnoticed for so long. Was it shock or blood loss or just a dawning realization? Her old life was over. Finally, all of the senseless noise from her farm had disappeared. It was dark. The dinosaur stopped running and set her down in the field. The cold air rushed around her. Pain burned in her shoulder. He touched her forehead. "What do I call you?" she asked. "We don't really have names," he said, "but you can call me Big Al." Big Al? Big Al? She repeated the name out loud and telepathically. Big Al. It was so beautiful to her. So simple. She couldn't believe she was here in a field with a dinosaur. Her dinosaur, Big Al. Okay, we're getting weird. We're getting to a weird spot again where I just like hold my phone really, really far away from me and just like try to like fucking rebuke this situation. While still trying to tell a story and be funny, but like I don't want to read this. I don't want to be a part of this. I don't want to do this. I do, obviously I'm here, but like I don't want to read. Is all I can say, right? Okay. Oh, we're just like instantly jumping into stuff too. Huh. Yep. Okay. Oh, just like 2 paragraphs in, we're just like full on doing it. Oh, Jesus. I'm like literally scrolling so fast through this. This is still in chapter 1, by the way. Oh, Jesus Christ. Hey, so you remember those trigger warnings earlier? There was like an arm trauma and like an amputation and some like stuff. This is your warning for that. This is about to get weird. Again, I'm trying to make light of everything as I can, but this is craziness, dude. So after they like get it on, Big Al lay down in the field. She climbed up onto his chest and heard the deep pump of his heart, the braying of his breath, and she knew she would love him for the rest of her life. He touched her temple again. "I'm so hungry," he communicated. His thoughts stuttered, hesitant. "Go on," Tanis whispered. "You can trust me. I love the taste of your blood." His eyes went shy as he said that. She felt his vulnerability. She lifted herself up to a seated position and looked down at her body, at the wound her father had inflicted on her shoulder. Her arm dangled, dead and gray. There wasn't any use trying to save it. She knew what to do. She offered her injured arm to his hunger and felt the hot pain of his love as he devoured the whole thing. We are in chapter 1. That's how chapter 1 ends. What the fuck? I hate it here. Oh my god. In chapter 2, Tanis wakes up to the gray thin light of dawn. Cool wind brushed over her ears and cheeks. After deflowering her in the hayfield, Big Al had picked her up and carried her all night pressed to his chest. When she, hey, what about the arm? Yeah, what? No, speaking of tourniquet, it was at the shoulder. You ever get a Band-Aid? You ever get a Band-Aid for the bullet wound? You flew back like a sack of flour. Your arm was dead. How is your arm dead, but you're not dead? How are you not bleeding out? How are we not bleeding out? When she asked where they were going, he had responded that he knew of a place south of the Canadian border, a dinosaur human love sanctuary where they could go and be safe. It sounded blissful to Tanis. She felt dizzy and lightheaded. Her mouth was dry as sand. She looked down at her shoulder. Big Al's feather bandage was holding. Okay, thank God. We addressed it, guys. Was holding. All her life, Tanis had grown up hearing the myth that dinosaur feathers had healing properties, but never had she imagined it to be true. The spot still ached, and she missed her left arm, but the bleeding had stopped and the wound didn't appear infected. If it's covered in a dinosaur feather band-aid, I feel like you couldn't see if it was infected or not. Big Al sprinted powerfully through the fields. Tanis felt small and in awe of him. She had never respected or adored another being so much. Okay, what is happening? As they traveled, Big Al occasionally reached over and touched Tanis's cheek to tell her stories of his life. He grew up in a dinosaur nursery in Colorado. He and his 307 siblings roamed the Rocky Mountains, learning to hunt deer and fish in the rivers. He studied to be an electrical engineer and moved north because the tar sands offered him the best salary. He would have rather worked in dinosaur-human communications technology, but the money wasn't there. He wanted to be an electrical engineer? What do you mean? What is happening? Now I'm just going to end up having to read this entire thing. I can't summarize this. How do you summarize this? How would I possibly tell you this story otherwise? For the first time ever, Tanis felt truly alive in her body. Everything excited her. The breeze, the smell of Al, the buttery sunshine. She felt renewed, baptized in sexual awareness. Big Al's deep panting from running made her thighs quiver. Okay. Oh, yeah, look at that. We're getting spicy again. Once finished, he picked her up again, held her to him, and they continued on. Could her life be like this always, running forever in the arms of her very own dinosaur? It took them 2 days of running, interrupted only by Tanis's desire and the need for food and sleep to arrive at the sanctuary. It wasn't what she expected. Instead of herds of dinosaurs and humans in various housing arrangements, she saw only one circular building in the middle of nowhere. A large log structure with many windows, an extensive vegetable garden bloomed and overflowed on one side of it. A few fields away, Big Al set Tanis down and they walked the rest of the way, side by side. Oh, so they're joining a cult. A few meters away from the sanctuary, Tanis caught sight of a figure running towards them, a female redhead in a simple brown dress. She was smiling brightly. Hello? Hold on, sorry, I got a little head on the paragraph there. Okay, this woman running toward them, smiling brightly. Al left Tanis' side unexpectedly. He ran towards the girl and lifted her into his arms. Tanis stopped walking. Al swung the woman around several times before setting her on the ground. Tanis was about to start walking towards the couple again when, unexpectedly, Al tore off the woman's clothes, lifted her naked body, and ran with her into the nearby bushes. Tanis couldn't breathe. What was she doing hundreds of miles from home, from all she knew, her love? Did she even know who he was? Had just run off in the arms of a redhead. Tanis thought about the other woman. She was beautiful, tall, and full-figured. Tanis' own chest seemed tiny by comparison. Through tears, Tanis saw another figure walking towards her, a woman with long black hair streaming down her shoulders. She was barefoot and wearing the same simple brown dress as the redhead. "My darling, don't worry," she said as she was a few feet away. "It happens to all of us this way." "What do you mean?" The woman's voice was soft and breathy. Tanis didn't know what to say. Who was this woman? She took Tanis' hand and led her towards the log building. Tanis was so disoriented from what she had seen. What had she seen? That she didn't completely register what was happening to her. She was only vaguely aware of the buzz of bees and the earthly floral scent rising from the garden. Okay, I need to see. Okay, I'm on chapter 3. What are we dealing with here, guys? Chapter 3. Okay. We are already 33% of the way through the story. Okay. Okay, I guess. Okay. Chapter 3. Tanis and the dark-haired woman entered the building through the tall cedar doors. Inside, the space was divided in two. One side was an oceanless beach of fine sand that drifted against the curve of the wall in a pillowy dune. The other was a field of soft grass with enormous cushions scattered across it. Light streamed in through the many windows, warm and gentle and glowing. "This is our nest," said the woman. Tanis blinked away her tears and took a deep breath. The air smelled like the flowers with that underlying fishy scent and something else. "Coconut?" The woman smiled and stroked Tanis's arm. She led her to one of the cushions in the grass. "I'll show you," the woman said as she sat down cross-legged, beckoning for Tanis to sit across from her. Tanis noticed that she was bare underneath her dress. Her pubic hair... Tanis sat down across from her. "You'll have to take those off," the woman said, gesturing to her clothes. "We don't allow outside things here. We'll burn them later." Still dumbstruck and mourning Big Al's betrayal, Tanis mutely complied. The woman watched as she set the torn ruins of her clothing aside until all she was wearing was Big Al's feather bandage over the stump of her missing arm. "She got shot in the shoulder." Sorry, I'm like still trying to... What if the... Okay, yeah. Shot in the shoulder, so the arm was gray and dead. The stump of her arm. Wouldn't I? You know what? I don't know why I'm thinking about it. It's fine. There's things happening between Tanis and this woman. Fighting demons over here, guys. I can't like be far enough away from this. Okay. And Tanis feels like she's betraying Big Al, but the woman says, "Just wait until after the ritual." Oh my god, this is a lot. Okay, so like I said, they're doing stuff. So a minute later, the cedar door opens and an Allosaurus trundled through the door and made the same high then low call as the woman had. It was smaller than Big Al with white and yellow feathery halo. The Allosaurus sniffed the air, crossed the grass, and knelt beside Tanis to touch her temple. "Are you ready for the completion of the ritual?" it asked her. Tanis realized from the voice feel in her brain that it was female. She reached her remaining arm up to the Allosaurus's face to stroke the dinosaur's shining skin. Sunlight reflected in the fluff of iridescent feathers that grew everywhere like prismatic wheat in an ancient field. The Allosaurus gave a satisfied purr. "Screw Big Al," thought Tanis. "Two can play at that game." "Yes," said Tanis in her mind. "I am ready." The dark-haired woman slowly pulled her arm out of Tanis. I know we read it. I know it was in the trigger warning. I skimmed the spice so much that I still wasn't expecting that. I still wasn't expecting it. Okay. Oh, Jesus. Okay, now we're just doing it with dinosaurs and this woman at the same time. Oh my god. But after, you know, again, after doing it with the woman and now this other dinosaur, Tanis fell asleep, but instead of the gentle peace and fulfillment that she felt after having spice with Big Al, there was a lack. She wanted her dinosaur. A single tear rolled down her cheek as she slipped into slumber. Chapter 4. When she awoke, Tanis felt empty. She was hungry. When had been the last time that she had eaten? The vegetable scent of the garden drifted across her nose. All peas, blossom, and earth. She was empty, too, of thick tongues and probing hands and other delicious bodily implements. Okay, again, I would still be upset about the spice because this is just insane, but I just, again, why the fuck would you make the main character 17 years old? This is so weird. Like I said, I'm telling myself that like she just didn't start working on the farm and being like an actual like involved farmhand until she was like 5 years old. That's the only reason that like mentally I am like getting through this, because obviously she wasn't going to work on the farm when she was an infant. You know what I'm saying? So at the bare minimum, she's 18. Hopefully I'm trying to convince myself that she's like 23, but the author should have explicitly said that. That was weird. That was a weird thing. That was a weird thing to do. Don't make me call the FBI. Anyway, and then she's also like, and her heart was empty. His honky-tonk hair and his cocky gaze, the smell and taste and size of him, his desire for her, the beating need of his subtly feathered body, the sheer Big Al-ness of him. He was a primordial jungle, verdant and hot and swelling, teeming with life. Oh my God, there's other things too. I know I keep saying, oh my God, but literally I don't know what else I could say. The only other thing I could say is, which I don't think is very good to hear in the mic for like the whole time, you know what I'm saying? She wakes up and she's not in like this cathedral room where she fell asleep in. Somebody must have like moved her. And instead she's on the ground in a tent-like structure not far from the garden. And she's still just thinking about Al. Big Al had changed her in some fundamental way. She hungered, for things. Yep. Hey, trigger warning again. This is just kind of disgusting. So if you want to skip like 30 seconds. She touched the feather bandage on her injured shoulder and remembered his orgasmic delight as he crunched on the bones of her arms. Slurped the hot blood like wine. Savored muscle and fat like it was a Wagyu steak at the kind of steakhouse where the servers make your individual Caesar salad at the table next to you. The tenderness that he had shown her as he repaired her torn and broken flesh and made her not whole, but different, smaller, wiser, his. And then she remembered the redhead and her passion turned to grief. There was a roar from inside the enormous temple, loud enough to rattle the windows in their brackets. And then there was another roar, deeper and throatier, from another dinosaur, and a very human scream. Tanis rushed to the door of the temple, finding them open. 2 huge male Allosauruses faced each other from across the enormous space. One on the grass and one in the sand. They stomped like sumo wrestlers, from one clawed foot to another, throwing clods of grass and clouds of fine sand into the air. Tanis was bitterly disappointed, but also relieved to find that neither was Big Al. A half circle of women, including the dark-haired one who initiated Tanis, watched the spectacle. There was another scream from one of the women, a tall blonde with pale skin and spider-thin limbs, and Tanis realized that it wasn't a scream of fear or pain. It was a mating cry. Oh. Oh. These two Allosauruses are sharing a woman, we'll say, and together the Allosauruses lifted the woman, their swollen penis waving like little meaty flags. Hello? Said, I am Umber, said the dark-haired woman, and I witnessed this joining. Who will second me? I am Pine, said another. And I witnessed this joining. We have 2 joinings today, said the dark-haired woman. Bring in the others. The cedar doors opened. A beautiful woman walked in, the redhead who had stolen Big Al when they arrived, and behind her were 2 Allosauruses. One of them was Big Al. Tanis's heart dropped. She felt nauseous. Her chest burned with a stuck cry of agony. Big Al was as beautiful as Tanis remembered. Okay, that's fine. His massive thighs were packed with muscle and his torso shone. Had he been oiled? His cheekbones were carved from the finest jade. His cranial feathers were slicked back now in a vintage gangster style. Oh, what the fuck is happening? The ridge of his neck swooped gracefully forward as he turned to look at her with those glittering sea green eyes. The redhead stood next to him, her chin high and haughty. She reached one freckled arm out to grasp Big Al's hand as if he were her saurian boyfriend. Tanis felt hot tears sting her eyes, but Big Al shook the redhead off as if she were an annoying insect. She squealed in dismay as she stumbled backwards. His haunches rippled as he leaped toward Tanis, prompting an outcry from the gathered women. He ignored them. Gently, he touched her temple with his hard, wired claw. I didn't know, he said to her, grieving, pleading. I didn't know that humans so frequently pair bonded. Well, these ones don't. What? Tanis thought to him. Well, these ones don't, Tanis thought to him, but most of us do. Are you angry at? What the frick is happening? What do you mean? I didn't know that humans so frequently pair bonded. Oh, okay. So he's like, hey, I didn't realize that you'd be upset by me having multiple girlfriends. Is that what that's saying? Well, these ones don't, Tanis thought to him, but most of us do. Oh, okay, got it. Okay. I'm tracking. Are you angry at me? His thoughts were full of heavy woe. She thought she could see just for a split second a flash of an image in his mind and could feel his experience with her, a point of view of her body. Okay. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, so he pictures the image that he flashes to her is him getting it on with her, and then a flash of him getting it on with the redhead, and the redhead was just not into it. The redhead just wasn't, fully about it. So that's why he's back. I can't love her, Big Al said. Is it because I only love you? Ew, what the frick is going on? Tanis warned Umber. This is adjoining. It's not your turn. Keep away from the dinosaurs. Tanis leapt into Big Al's arms like a piece of popcorn violently released from its kerneled slumber and flung from a hot pan. He caught her lightly. My joining, cried the redhead. You get away from him. Big Al roared in her face, close enough to moisten her hair with the meaty sauna of his breath. And then, together, Tanis and Big Al escaped through the cedar doors of the temple and began to run. An evening prairie wind blew cold through the feathers that still clung to Tanis's ruined shoulder as they fled. The fact remained that she, like Big Al, had strayed from their love because she's thinking about hooking up with the dinosaur and the lady last night. She hadn't said no. She'd consented, whether from anger or bitterness or simply the hot, okay. Big Al, she whispered to him as they cantered several hours into their journey. Will you forgive me? I didn't love them either. Big Al stopped in the middle of a cornfield. He crushed her tight against him so hard it blew the air out of her lungs in a long Sorry. That's probably not the noise, but that's how it's spelled. It's like H-U-U-U-U-U-H. Shall I show you how I forgive you? He asked. Ew. His scent was overpowering. His breath was salt and blood and heat, a glorious and primordial stink. Yes, whispered Tanis. Okay, he lay her down beneath the between the corn stalks. Blah, 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 blah. What? What? Yeah. They're in the cornfield. They're about to get spicy. And he takes the green sheathed ears of corns bulged out from the stalks like hard uncircumcised penises. Can you imagine what he does with the corn? He puts the corn inside of her. What is happening right now? What is happening? Oh my god, do people get off to this type of thing? Okay, yeah, so we got through that. Yeah, so then they end that scene and they pass out together. Yay! Love wins again. Chapter 5. Tanis and Big Al awoke in the morning to the sound of rifle shots in the middle distance. Tanis sat upright in shock, and then the fear hit her. A low growl started deep in Big Al's throat. Had her father and her brothers somehow found her? Were they coming to finish what they had started? She pictured her father's face, thin mouth twisted in a bitter scowl, his constant dismissal of her, his refusal to listen, to treat her like a human being. To him, she realized, she'd been no more than livestock, another mindless mouth to feed, but she wasn't mindless, and neither was Big Al. We have to get away, she whispered, pulling the simple brown dress down over her burgeoning, how do you say this word? Burgeoning. That's one of those, like, I always see the word, but I never, like, actually heard anybody say it. You can tell that a lot in my videos, that, like, I read a lot and don't, like, hear people say a lot of words. That's why I mispronounce everything. Anyway, her burgeoning thighs. That's such an ugly word. He nodded and sprang up with her in his arms, running away from the sound of gunshots, trying to keep his head down below the wispy tops of the corn stalks. But he was huge, and the green stalks rustled and snapped in his wake. Tanis grabbed a few cobs where she could, basketing them in the lap of her dress. They weren't great weapons, but perhaps they could provide a distraction, and they were heavy enough to hurt if they connected with a nose. She remembered from more than one Alberta night that she had spent cow-tipping with the boys who'd gotten drunker than they should have. What? There were shouts, though, and then the grind cough sound of an engine revving. Big Al was fast, but he wasn't faster than a car at max speed. The sound grew closer. Big Al ran faster, his barbecue breath huffing. They broke through the edge of the cornfield into a rutted dirt path, dotted with large scum-filled puddles with gnats drifting lazily above in the great clouds. A ragged-looking jeep with tires too big for its frame barreled down the path toward them, not 20 feet away. Big Al leapt into action, but there was a sharp gunshot and a spray of blood from his right leg. He toppled with a keening cry, and Tanis went down with him, splashing into the warm and dirty water of the nearest puddle. The corn cobs in her lap went flying. Whoops and cheers came from the jeep, which skidded to a muddy stop a few feet away, 3 men in plaid shirts and jeans emerged from the vehicle. They weren't her father and brothers. Tanis saw with momentary relief, which was replaced immediately by terror and worry for her dinosaur lover who lay sprawled and bleeding beside her. "Got him," yelled one of the men in a broad North Dakota drawl. He stalked towards the interspecies couple. His face was lined and leathery, though he didn't seem to be older than 40, and his eyes were flinty little specks. "You've been looking for one of those." He gave a massive burp and pounded his chest. "Better out than in," he intoned. "You want a job, buddy?" The first man snickered at Big Al. "Quarry ain't gonna dig itself." "Look at his leg," said the third man, tall and broad and more soft-spoken than the other two. "You ain't done yourself no favors. I know this is not a South Dakotan accent. Don't look at me that way, okay? What do you want from me?" "I can't do it all, guys. I can't do it all." "Oh, okay." So, Big Al's bleeding. He's hurt. And these men make a bunch of threats and force her to get into the car, and they start asking her about what happened to her arm, and she does not respond. And these 3 men take her in the Jeep, and they leave Big Al behind to, like, bleed out pretty much in this field, and they say that they'll be back for him shortly. This is the really disgusting part where the trigger warning came into play about threats of SA and whatnot. So obviously, I'm not going to tell you what these men are saying about her and thinking about her and whatnot. It's disgusting. And she pretty much gets, like, locked away in this old farmhouse thing with these people. They go and get, like, a horse trailer and go and pick up Big Al and bring him back. Yeah, it's a bunch of, like, other stuff. And again, it's, like, really disgusting. And, like, not getting into it. She's able to escape these gross guys' house, though, and catches their house on fire in doing so and getting away. So that's cool. And she's able to break into the barn where they had put Big Al and runs toward him and tells him that they have to get going. And he's like, "Are they gone?" He says, "Are they gone?" And she says, "I burned the house down and the Jeep and I took their truck." The dinosaur gave an amused chuckle huff. "You're more powerful than an 8-foot dinosaur," he said through their neural link, his voice soaked with pride. "My fierce, beautiful little human girl." Oh! I fucking hate this. Tanis leapt into the truck's cab. Big Al ducked into the horse trailer and closed it. And they drove toward the horizon away from the farm as the farmhouse burned behind them. Because again, remember, his leg's shot. He's bleeding out. He can't, like, run for it like normal. So he gets into the horse trailer and they get going. In chapter 6, oh my god, we're like 70% of the way through probably. Chapter 6, Tanis and Big Al traveled by night and slept by day for several weeks as the dinosaur's leg healed. She spray painted the truck black, and Big Al helped her switch the license plates with a rusted old hulk of a 1960s VW Beetle that she had spotted in a ditch. A cigar-sized roll of 20 bills shoved by one of the men into the glove compartment of the truck represented her entire net worth. If anyone asked, and almost no one did, she claimed she was an equestrian trainer who had fallen on hard times with the loss of her arm and was road tripping back home to her parents' house in Kansas. "My horse doesn't like people much," she said. "He's a kicker." At Walmart, she shoplifted new clothes. Y'all are gonna give me a motherfucking trigger warning for Walmart because she goes in there and steals stuff. I swear to God, if there's not more mention of Walmart, if it is, oh my god. A sensitivity reader said, "Hey, girly pop, you said Walmart one time, and that can be really, really triggering for somebody." What? What are you talking about? What do you mean? Anyway. At Walmart, she shoplifted new clothes. 1 or 2 items per store to keep from being caught. Gauzy, slippy sundresses, a pair of shorts, a few t-shirts, a fuzzy fleece jacket for cold nights, a crossbody purse big enough to hold a few tampons. Shut up. You know what I mean. And the truck keys. She'd never been a thief, not even in high school when the other girls were merrily stealing lipstick and eyeshadows from Shoppers Drug Mart and surreptitiously putting them on at school so their parents wouldn't object. But now she was an outlaw. She burned down a house to save her dinosaur lover. What were a few shirts from Walmart in the grand scheme of things? Tanis also became skilled at finding remote places to park during the day because the horse trailer had become a love nest. Ew! For her and Big Al. His fish and flowers scent permeated it with the amount of time that he had spent in inside. Tanis could barely enter without being overwhelmed by desire for him. And after a few days of healing, once his leg had lost its weakness, Big Al clearly felt the same way. Okay. I don't want to read this. I don't want to read anymore. This is why I don't do read-alongs. Because this is usually my reaction, but usually it happens in my car. Because I'll have the like audio playing. I'll have the little robot lady reading me these books. And so I'll just be driving to work in the mornings and in the afternoons. And the little robot voice will be reading. And I'm like, as I'm like driving down the road. Like crying to myself at fucking stoplights and shit, hoping nobody can hear the demonic things that are coming out of my car speakers. Wow, I am like skipping so much of this. It's literally just like spice. She's reflecting about how hungry Al must be all the time, but how much he loves her because he's never tried to like eat her or insinuate anything ever since he ate her arm that one time. And so she ends up at like one of these gas stations. She approaches this girl and she's like, "Hey, do you know if there's any slaughterhouses hiring around here?" And the girl says, "What?" She says, "Yeah, if you know of any?" "No, but like you literally only have one arm. I think that's like pretty hard work for somebody like you." And Tanis, is that her name? Tanis says, "I work a lot harder than you'd expect, just can you help me out?" She says, "Okay, yeah, I'd go like 10-15 minutes or 10-15 miles down the road." And then Tanis says, "Do you think they would pay me in meat?" And the girl says, "Lady, you ask a lot of weird questions." Tanis ate a Snickers on the road, ripping open the package with her teeth. The sweet, rich taste of chocolate was almost overwhelming. Perhaps this was how Big Al felt as he gobbled her arm. Had it been like a candy bar to him? The decadent crunch of the bone, the savory taste of her flesh. Oh my god. Okay, so they end up going to this slaughterhouse. In chapter 7, she's trying to get a job there, and the guy literally says, "You only got one arm." Tanis squinted at the man at the reception desk in the slaughterhouse's office building. He was shaped like a mound of meat scraps stuffed into his cheap collared shirt. His nose was covered with broken blood vessels, and his breath smelled faintly of beer. "I know," said Tanis. "How'd you lose it?" "Industrial accident." The man gawked. "Clumsy. How'd I know you ain't gonna lose the other in a machine here and sue us to Kingdom Come?" Tanis stood up straight. "Sir," she said with more courage than she felt, "I work hard and I lift a lot. You don't need 2 arms to push a mop. Besides, aren't you an equal opportunity employer?" "What the fuck?" "You got a social security number?" "Shit," thought Tanis with a mighty stab of fear. She hadn't thought about the implication of her Canadianness. "Never mind, sir. I'll be going now. Sorry for bothering you." "Oh, it ain't a problem." The man's face turned predatory. "Don't need papers to work at the slaughterhouse. Cash once a week, all the same to us. You just gotta keep me sweet on ya. Think you can do that, sugar tits?" Oh my god. And then this guy appears and he says, "Jimmy," came a booming voice from somewhere down the cavernous hall. "It ain't your place. Go back, go out and have a smoke and come back when you got your under control." What the is happening? And so then another man, just this side of elderly, short and enormously stout with a round belly, encased in a neon print Hawaiian shirt, made his way down the hall towards Tanis. His mustache was glorious, a thick silver gray bristle brush across his upper lip. Silver gray bristle brush across his upper lip. I don't know, that sentence, sorry, that sentence flowed really well. He had the confidence of a working dog in a herd of disgruntled sheep. Awfully sorry, darling, said the man. "That ain't the way we do things here. You don't gotta look twice at Jimmy's ugly mug. You wanna push a mop? You can push a mop. Cash is weekly, every Friday. We got a deal?" "I know this might sound a little weird, but I really like meat. Can you just pay me in meat?" "Damn, I'm glad old Jimmy weren't here to hear you say that. He'd pay you with meat, all right." "Ew! Maybe I can get all the offcuts, the cheap stuff, intestines and kidneys and brains and all that?" There was a pregnant silence. "Yeah, no shit." What are you saying? Why would you say that? The man rubbed his eyes again and stared intently at Tanis, as if looking closely enough at her would solve the mystery of the beautiful one-armed woman asking to be paid in cow parts. At last, he sighed. "Can't give you the kidneys," he said, "or the intestines, but you can have as many brains as you want. Can't legally sell them because of mad cow disease. You shouldn't really eat them either, but ain't really up to me. I'll tell you what. We'll pay you minimum wage and give you as many cow brains as you can fit in that little belly, and no one's going to ask questions. Save us from having to dispose of them. I can live with that. All right, little lady. I'm Dallas Morrison. Tanis. She shook his hand with her good one. Yeah, no shit. She's only got one. Her good one? Her only one. She's only got one hand. Her good one. This is so stupid. How do you feel about night shift? No better time in the present. I feel like that suits me just fine. What Tanis didn't expect was that Big Al would be discovered so soon. Of course he would. Of course he would. You got in there, shouted Jimmy from behind her as she opened the door to the trailer to greet Big Al. She'd parked the truck and trailer in the far corner of the parking lot near the porta potties, in the hope that some deliberate disinterest with which most humans regarded porta potties would transfer to her vehicle. Unfortunately, it just seemed that Jimmy's interests in her was stronger than any sense of decorum. Did you follow me? Hissed Tanis. There was a low growl inside the trailer, and Tanis hissed again, hushing Big Al, low and desperate. But it was too late. The dinosaur's enormous head was close enough to the doors that it caught the dim orange glow from a nearby parking lot lamp post. Even as the last bit of daylight drained from the bottom of the sky, his feathered crest made a golden halo around the top of his head. His skin shone. Is that a dinosaur? Whispered Jimmy almost reverently. Yes, Tanis said shortly. He's mine. He belongs to me. He for sale? Jimmy's eyes narrowed. Absolutely the hell not, Tanis growled. He's bonded to me. He's mine. Oh my god, girl, chill. Jimmy shrugged. Suit yourself. He sauntered back inside of the building. Tanis breathed a sigh of relief. When Jimmy was out of sight, she jumped into the trailer and wrapped her legs and her good arm around Big Al, who nuzzled her in exactly the place she loved the most. She says, I love you, Big Al. This is so stupid. Oh, and then in that moment, as they're about to get freaky in this freaking parking lot, there was a knock at the trailer door. Hey, little lady, called Dallas. I hear you got a friend in there who likes cow brains. Both Tanis and Big Al immediately froze. It was bad enough being caught with a dinosaur, being caught in a flagrant delicto? A flagrant delicto with a dinosaur would be much, much worse. That's right, said Tanis loudly. I'm cleaning them up and myself, getting ready for work. She combed her fingers through her hair, trying in vain to make herself look presentable. I will protect you, said Big Al to her, touching her temple gently. It's okay, Tanis said in a low voice. I got this. Pardon? Called Dallas. Oh, just talking to the dino, said Tanis, unlatching the trailer door and swinging it open to find Dallas standing there. Have to keep him socialized. Dallas looked intently at Tanis and then Big Al. You're brave, he said finally, and I got good news dependin'. How well trained is this guy? Big Al refrained from growling. He'd always been smart, Tanis thought, smarter than she'd ever imagined a dinosaur could be. He was getting better at reading human interactions, understanding the intricacies of social dynamics. He was learning. Of course, he'd always been good at reading her cues when they were wrapped up in each other's embrace. Okay, I don't want to read any more of that. I don't know if you can really train them, she told Dallas. They're intelligent, they're more human than animal, but if you're asking whether Big Dude is a threat to humans, the answer's no. He's the gentlest dinosaur you could ever imagine, and he'd never hurt anyone. Big Dude? Tanis felt a rush of embarrassment. What a stupid name. He didn't have nothing to do with, say, a certain injury? Dallas's eyes were sharp. Absolutely not, Tanis said firmly and truthfully. There was a gunshot wound. All Big Dude did was help me bandage it up. And eat the remnants, she thought, but that really was none of his business, and she would have lost the arm anyway. Big Al had enjoyed it. If she was honest with herself, she'd enjoyed it too. What do you mean? What do you mean? If she was honest with herself, she'd enjoyed it too. In a faintly horrifying, never-to-be-repeated kind of way. There was something deathly sexy about watching Big Al consume a part of her like a tasty, meaty protein bar. Why did how in the frack did this come into somebody's brain and they decided to write this down? And they decided to sell it. And people have read it. People have given this 5 stars. 5 stars. What? So here's what I'm thinking, said Dallas. That dino looks strong. Looks like he's suited to do this kind of work. I want him to be my cow brain disposal. He's gonna crack this. Oh, Jesus. Okay. He'll get all the brains he can eat plus a whole cow every week. And you, little lady, you're wasted on broom pushing. I think you're more of an office girl. How are you with numbers? By the end of the first week, Big Al's skin had plumped out again, and the sparkle was back in his eyes. Tanis was even getting used to the all-permeating stink of the slaughterhouse. But what she hadn't had for a long time and really, really needed was a shower or a bath or something to get her clean. Ew. Okay, She hasn't showered because Big Al just licks her clean. Oh my Jesus. So she and Big Al took a morning drive around to explore. Along a heavily potholed back road, they found an overgrown, abandoned-looking farm property with a dilapidated farmhouse and a scummy little pond fed by a weed-choked creek. When they followed the creek 100 yards or so into the woods, they found the source, a clean, cold spring that gushed from the crevice between two large boulders, making a narrow but deep-looking pool at the stream's head. And they go in there and get clean in the cold water. I don't know what you want from me. This is just a bunch of them hitting on each other and thinking each other is hot and how much they love each other. And then they start boning. Oh my God. Oh my God. There were worse ways to live, thought Tanis. She had just had enough to eat, a place to sleep, cash in hand for necessities, and a lover who thrilled her every day of her life. She had everything she needed. In chapter 8, I think we're at the very end. Thank freaking God. And hey, look here, you little freak. You look me in the eye right now if you're watching visually. If your question is, Kaylee, you never told us about his peen. What's his peen look like, Kaylee? You didn't tell us the details of the... You didn't tell us about the details of this dinosaur Johnson. To which I would say, look here, you little sicko fricko. I didn't. And I sure as hell ain't doing it now either. This is not, I draw the line. I draw the line. In chapter 8. And then, one late summer evening, just as they were about to wake up for their respective night shifts, the interspecies lovers' peaceful sleep was shattered by the plaintive wail of sirens. Blearily, Tanis sat up straight. Big Al, being a predator, slept lightly. He was alert and growling before Tanis had even registered what was happening. The horse trailer shook as he maneuvered himself protectively around her, with a clear bite shot at whomever was dim enough to open the door. The sirens grew louder and closer, and Tanis's heart pounded. Maybe they weren't looking for her, she pleaded with the universe. She hadn't done anything wrong. She was an adult. Oh, she is an adult. Is she an adult? Is she 18? Is she 18? Please? Please somebody tell me. Please somebody tell me she's a grown woman. Please. She was an adult. Where the fuck was I? Big Al was an adult. He's a dinosaur. What do you mean Big Al was an adult? Hello? What do you mean? They had every right to live as... They had every... They had every right to live as they chose. But Tanis knew from growing up in rural Alberta that what was allowed in theory and what happened in practice was often two very different things. The wee-woo of sirens grew almost unbearably loud, amplified by the sheet metal of the trailer, and Tanis heard the sound of tires on gravel as the cars pulled up to their spot near the porta potties. Big Al was growling like a guard dog on duty, snuffling rich cow brain breath through his nostrils. His thick and His thick and muscled thighs were taut and ready to spring. The soft feathers that covered his skin stood on end like a tiny little army of iridescent shoulders at a like a tiny army of iridescent soldiers at attention. Golden hour light poured through the barred slit windows at the top of the trailer. He looks like a dinosaur god, thought Tanis, like an avatar of the divine on Earth. He was so beautiful, she wanted to cry. I can't lose him. And, it's her dad. Her dad is with the police, and he comes out and he says, Tanis, are you in there? She's in there, her father said to someone, and she's got that goddamn dinosaur with her. Tanis felt sick, and she clung to Big Al. If you go, I go, she whispered to him. I don't want to live without you. Big Al touched her temple. Don't say that. His inner voice was calm, but there was a runnel of fear barely hidden just below the surface. Dinosaur Romeo and Juliet, whispered Tanis with a hysterical giggle. I read that play during language training, said Big Al in her mind. It wasn't a love story. It was a tragedy about two teenagers making stupid decisions. We don't want to emulate it. What? Are you what? As Tanis's mind was boggling at the thought of her dinosaur lover having read Shakespeare, there was an enormous metallic crash and the doors to the horse trailer bowed open. Of course it's Jimmy. That's what I figured as much. Jimmy sold her out. He saw a picture of her on the internet and called the dad to report that that's where she was. Her father cries, "That's her! He's right, that's her! Tanis, it's time to come home now. Get that shoulder looked at, see your brothers, we've missed you!" Of course, in the missing person poster, he'd spent the past few months putting all over every physical and digital space he could find. Tanis's father had neglected to mention how she had lost her arm. "And that's the dinosaur too," said Jimmy. "He's a nasty probably best to put him down. No need to risk anyone's safety." "No," screamed Tanis. "He's no danger to anyone." Oh shit, sorry. I almost spilt my little drink. "No," screamed Tanis. "He's no danger to anyone. Big Al is gentle. He's loving. He's wonderful." "That may be so," said one of the... Yeah, all of these men have the same accent, okay? They all sound the same. Shut up. Hey, sorry, I didn't mean to yell at you. But they all do sound the same. I know, okay? Just... I'm not putting work into this. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. "That may be so," said one of the officers, "but standard protocol with a carnivore is that when there's an issue like this, we take him into our custody to keep everyone safe. Come with me, please, sir," said the officer to Big Al as Jimmy grinned triumphantly and he winked at Tanis. Big Al growled low in his throat. "No, sir, let's not have that," warned the officer, raising a taser. "You're gonna tase a dinosaur? Who in the hell says, you know what'll help this moment? A taser. I'm gonna tase a dinosaur?" And also calling a dinosaur sir and then threatening to tase him in the same breath is why. That's crazy work. "Please come peacefully," said the officer to Big Al. And so the officer... After the officer says this, her dad gets pissed. He's like, "He tore up my daughter," growled Tanis's father. "Ran away from the farm with her, stole her, and it looks to me like he's ripped her arm clean off." "That was you," sobbed Tanis. "With your gun, you shot me. Big Al saved my life. All he's ever done is love me. He loves me more than you ever have." "Is this true?" asked the police officer with the taser, looking at Tanis's father and lowering the weapon slightly. "Aye," Tanis's father began. The figure running towards them in the office building grew closer. "What? The figure running towards them from the office building grew closer?" "That's a lie," interrupted Jimmy. "This bitch is a liar. She's stealing from the company. I saw it myself. I did the books. Embezzlement. I was gonna fire her today, and that slimy lizard boyfriend of hers too. No good thieves. Send them back where they came from. We don't need that kind of stealing from good... We don't need this kind stealing jobs from good, hardworking Americans. I swear to..." There was an enormous thwack as Dallas Morrison, breathing hard from the exertion of running to the edge of the parking lot from the main building, wearing an eye-wateringly neon yellow Hawaiian shirt and khaki cargo shorts, cracked Jimmy across the back of the head with a thick metal binder full of paperwork. The sneering man stumbled, stunned, and slumped to his knees against the nearest porta potty. "What in the goddamn fucking hell is the meaning of this?" Big Al roared and growled. The police officers wheeled towards Dallas, guns out. When they saw who it was, they lowered their weapons. "Dallas, they're trying to kidnap Big Al, and my father's trying to kidnap me, but I don't want to go. I'm an adult. I don't want to go." The police officers stared at Dallas with wide eyes, the whites showing all around. "Mr. Morrison?" The tallest cop, a brown-haired, nondescript man of about 30. "Are these folks your employees?" "They are." "Jimmy claims they were stealing." "That's a lie. Sure as I'm a Morrison, like my father and my father's father before me, and I surely don't appreciate y'all coming on down here and letting some guy," he gestured to Tanis's father, "lay hands on a lady, employee or no. You gotta be ashamed of yourselves." "I'm her father," growled Tanis's father. "And I'm her boss," said Dallas. "And she's a grown woman." "So she is grown." "So she is grown? So she's not 17? Why did you frame it that way, author lady? Why in the fuck would you frame it that way then? Huh?" "And last I checked..." And last I checked, the laws of these good United States of America indicate that once a person reaches the age of majority, that is 18, they are free to make their own decisions without the input of their parents. How old are you, Tanis? 18, almost 19. Okay, why did we phrase it the way that we did earlier then? She's 18, almost 19, and she does not want to go with her daddy. She's been missing for months. She's just a girl. She's naive. She's Canadian. Can't you extradite her to the United States? What the is happening? And so the cops end up taking her dad away because obviously, like, so they take her dad away. And then Dallas is pissed at Jimmy, and he says, here's the thing, said Dallas conversationally to Jimmy. There's a lot about you I don't like, Jimmy. I've put up with a lot from you because of who your mama was and who your daddy wasn't. More than anyone else has ever tolerated. But I ain't putting up with it no more. You just lost your last friend. Ew. Jimmy spat blood, glaring at Dallas defiantly. He looked over at Tanis and licked his lips suggestively. She should be mine. He lisped through the blood-speckled saliva and broken teeth. This is your fault. Ew. What the hell? And then Jimmy makes a threat against her and her lizard boyfriend, and then the lizard boyfriend eats him. Big Al. Big Al says, oh, nay, you don't talk to my girl that way, and bites his head off. Okay, I guess. So then they end up, like, burying him in a shallow grave behind the porta potty. Not sure why you wouldn't do it further away. I'm not sure why you would just leave it at the scene of the crime. You have a dinosaur. Why didn't he just eat the whole guy? Why didn't he just eat the guy? Why didn't he? Okay. Dallas ends up giving them, he owns that, like, dilapidated farmhouse where they went to go clean up that one day. He owns it, and he's like, nobody's inquired about this place since I put it up for sale years ago. Y'all can have it. Oh my God, that's so amazing. I can't believe that you would just give it to us. And honestly, I can't believe that you're unbothered by us as you seem to be. Everyone else seems to call the cops on us or shoot us like my dad. You know what? Said Dallas, looking from Tanis to Big Al and back again. Seems to me that dinosaurs are intelligent creatures. Basically people, I reckon. I ain't object to how people love each other. We settled that piece a long time ago. You just tell me if any soul bothers you, and I'll make sure they ain't gonna be able to do it twice. Which I love. Okay, she's crying. She's happy. Or she's finally living the life that she's always wanted. Maybe life on the farm could be wonderful after all, on the right farm with the right dinosaur. And there was something else she wanted to talk to Dallas about, something that she'd been looking into during her long nights in the office that she and Big Al had discussed in every detail they could think of, that if they could make it work, would change all of their lives for the better. I have a proposal for you, she said to Dallas. A proposal? The stout man's eyes crinkled in a smile. I sure am curious about that. For a new kind of slaughterhouse with dinosaur workers instead of humans. It would be so much better for everyone and more efficient and healthier. You know, Tanis, said Dallas, I knew I hired you for a reason. Let's have a chat. But first, he said, gesturing to the little farmhouse, let's get you home. Then there's an epilogue in which it's like them selling this whole dinosaur slaughterhouse idea thing. They end up finding a dinosaur egg. I skimmed it. There's a dinosaur egg that they end up, like, adopting to have a kid. So then they end up having a kid in the end because of this egg. And that was a wet, hot Allosaurus, whatever the frick summer. I'm like significantly less upset because she's not 17 years old. Like I said, that really kind of clouded my judgment for the first 80% of the book. I'm not taking it back, though. I'm not taking back the shit talking, and I'm not cutting it from this video because I experienced it real time with you. And if the author would have written it better in the beginning and didn't make me think that they were a sicko pervert, I would have had a much better time. So it's not my job to correct their bad writing and give you a more informed reading experience because we experienced it together. Right? This is like a reading vlog. This is different. This was very different than my usual videos. Did we like it? Did you like this style? It felt a lot more reactionary, I guess would be the word. I don't know. You got a lot more out of me. You got to see a lot more of my, maybe not my personality. I feel like I'm the same person no matter what I'm filming versus how I am in person, just in general. Like, this is very, like, authentic. This is just how I talk to people. And so maybe not more of my personality, but you got to see a lot more dramatic reactions since I was experiencing it for the first time with you. So that was something different. This sure was something. I think I'm going to go back to the silverware, the utensil romance, because at least I felt safe there. Like, I didn't know what was happening, but I at least knew they were grown folk. And I at least knew that he didn't eat her arm. The fuck you mean he ate her arm? And she liked it. She liked it. She liked her arm being eaten like a Snickers bar. That's so weird. How do people come up with these things? The Mile High Pterodactyl Club, is that what it said? The Pterodactyl Mile High Club, whatever. The other books that are in this, I'm gonna have to read them eventually just because they're in like the book that I bought or in the digital version that I bought. So not anytime soon because this was traumatic enough. I see why she had to wake up her sensitivity readers with smelling salts because I feel like I need to do that to get back to being able to be a functioning human being. Yeah, that was something. Oh, that's what I was saying. So I have all of these other stories of hers though that came in this digital version. So eventually, not anytime soon, maybe I'll read one of those. Well, maybe we'll do another little read along because all of those ones are even shorter. It's like 30 pages, 10 pages, 6. Yeah, they're very, very short stories that I could do some reactions to this insanity. So maybe we'll do that sometime. Like I said, I got the silverware. I do genuinely so freaking much. I want to continue the utensil series because that was so fun. And I have never laughed so hard reading. Like that was just a good time. So we're going to continue that, obviously. My gargoyle dad's best friend, whatever the frick, my gargoyle protector. Probably knock that out next week or eventually get that in the rotation. I'm filming this on Tuesday, August 5th. I'm getting my tattoo tomorrow, my Ophelia tattoo tomorrow afternoon that you guys voted for. So I'll post a picture of that on Thursday instead of like a regular poll because I already have a couple videos lined up and I already know what I need to get done. So instead, I'll just give you a little picture of my tattoo thing and a little thank you, love you note for getting me to 20,000 subscribers, which is still phenomenal. And I'm so beyond thankful and grateful and happy to be here. And what else? I need to continue my classic series. I don't know if I'm going to do Frankenstein or 1984 next week. I'll do one of those two though. I got to get back into doing my classics more regularly. Kind of fell off a little bit there. What else? Is there anything else going on? I don't think so. I don't think I have any other things to announce other than just, like I said, expressing my eternal gratitude for each and every one of you. I'm so glad that you're here. I'm glad to be here. I'm having a great time. And I hope you enjoyed this. Hope you had a good time, baby. Yeah? No? I'm scared. Yeah, I don't know. Have a good day, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.